All right, I'm not typically good at starting out stuff, so I'll just say, how do I start this? It's-
You say, welcome to the first annual Light Gun Festival convention.
yeah, I probably could. It's so random. I'm just gonna use that as the opening. All right, hello guys, welcome back. We're back with Chris Okawa, the
Hey,
lovely Thomas Rogan, and a bunch of other voices that he's done, that I've completely forgotten off the top of my head.
that's all right.
You've
Me
been in
too.
multiple things, haven't you?
I've done a couple things, yeah.
I think we
I keep
focused
busy.
on last time we focused on mainly House of the Dead, but you've been in like oh yeah, you've been in Paladins, Soul Hunters, yeah, and then you've now been in Lords of the Fallen. Or what is it?
Lords of the
Yeah,
Fallen,
okay, I got
Fire
that right.
Emblem.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, you've been in a bunch of stuff. I kind of hate it because the behind the voice actors profile of yours does not have
Yeah.
Lords of the Fallen.
It doesn't have a few things. People talk, and this is no hate towards behind the voice actors. I think it's a great database, and they I was reading somewhere on their FAQ, and they're like, we are building, we're like we still are very much kind of like in beta, to my understanding, and the amount of like they just want to really cross check everything across
Yeah,
credits, across fandom, etc. And it just is a little bit of a slower pipeline, but like they definitely I think are endeavoring to have like a really conclusive database. And
I'm
I
sorry for
think like
laughing here.
compared to
I've got
the
to show you something.
oh yeah,
They credit on I think it's House of the Dead 3. They have Charles Martinet.
really, what do they have him listed for?
um, I think they have it on. Let me just grab it up. I think they have it on for Doctor Curian. They have
Interesting. Did he do it?
if you, no, no, he didn't. That's the
Oh my
joke.
gosh.
Someone's just uploaded it.
Oh my
I'm sorry for
gosh.
deconstructing your argument in one saying, but
It's
I
wild.
don't know why it's there, and then yours is just like not updated at all.
Yeah, it's in progress, and I'm sure it's like all volunteer and stuff like that. What I like about it is that it like shows trending, and then it
Yep,
also
yep,
allows you to track like who worked with who. I think that that's pretty cool.
mm,
But yeah, it's definitely in process still.
yep. Oh my lord. Everyone is gonna be pretty casual, and I'll just chat up some stuff. I just looked up your name online, and I found I'm I'm very much, oh, and people can see some of this. Um, that's definitely definitely seems like you.
Ryan Colt Levy,
From
the star of Chainsaw Man, Damon Mills, who's the voice of Frieza. I'm I know this other gentleman, is maybe Jacob Hopkins
yeah.
from Bubblegum or whatever that show is, Gumball. Um, yeah, these are it's like it's really good talented people um on Amazon.com.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, looking at your profile, it's just completely like every single website has it completely outdated. I didn't realize because originally I was like, oh, he's only been in like just like side characters and stuff. But I mean, you've had some pretty decent roles. Like
Yeah,
I
IMDb is
guess
generally where I go to.
yeah, because I'm looking at Annie List, which I would suppose would be better, and it's got one of your roles.
Yeah, and occasionally I'll do something and it'll be like it'll 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 plug my first anime I ever did,
Yep.
which was number 24 as Pong Saklik, and which is like kind of like a background role plus. Like I think
Mm.
I probably had 10 lines in that whole season.
Yep.
And
Oh, here
since
we
I
go.
did six
That's a lot
different
bigger now. The
yeah.
IMDb. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's it's you roll with it and you try and keep up your own stuff. You try and keep your own stuff up to date as best you can, and
Yep.
hope folks are, understanding, and also I think um there's always there's always hubbub about where people are looking to
Mm.
vet you, you know what I mean? Are they seeing if you're problematic on social? Are they on your website? Are
Oh,
they
you're
seeing what your
definitely
SEO looks like?
problematic on social, man. You've been.
You know, a real bully. So, just trying a new tack for 2024. No, but yeah, um,
New Chris Okawa, the mean boy.
yeah, the mean boy,
Just have
the
the emo.
heel of
Just
voiceover.
change your what's it called? Face shot? What is it?
Yeah, headshot.
The headshot to just emo. You just
Yeah, just
completely
do the Spider-Man 3 treatment. It's time for my Spider-Man 3
exactly.
era.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I'll probably talk a little bit about Lords of the Fallen, I guess, because
For sure, there's a lot to
you
say
you
about
you were
it.
really excited last time I talked to you about that, if I was not wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
could
was a
you
big,
reveal it at
big
that
game.
stage? Were you?
No, it was still under NDA when we were talking. I
Yeah.
think it was like a week before.
Yeah, you said
Lords of
look
the
next
Fallen is
week and
a
it's something really exciting, and all of us were like, is it House of the Dead 2? Is it the remake? And and you're like,
the different
no.
the different fandoms, they there's not as much bleed over as we'd like, but yeah, no, Lords of the Fallen is a AAA game, $66 million, for 4 years in development. The It's the spiritual uh successor to the game of the same title,
Hmm.
from the same team, but a different publisher. So there's like some
Yeah.
adjustments made, and a lot of stylistic and gameplay adjustments made. It was a
Hmm.
AAA game. It was really exciting, and performance capture on all the stunts and everything, but not necessarily on the performances. It was a really great stepping stone for me, and
Hmm.
I play Dunmire, Exactor Dunmire, who wakes you up at the beginning of the game as your primary a dealer of
Hmm.
radiant magic, and if you follow his quest line, it'll take you to the one of the three endings. So it was a really prominent role for me, and
Yeah.
one that I was very proud of what I put out there.
Yeah, it was one of those things, and I must say, as much as I love that character, whenever I tried to get an image of him, it was so dark in every scenario. I
Yeah,
had to like contrast and just to the max.
totally,
And
totally,
then
very,
whenever
very
people do like
moody.
game footage, they either have like massive logos on their screen, or they just don't ever film him. It's one of those
Yeah,
things in which you have to go out of your way to go and find him, and it's one of those
yeah.
really weird things. It's just like, of course, I've looked at some footage and stuff, and it's amazing. I'm waiting for it to go below 100 AUD, which is a ridiculous asking price for a video game nowadays, which is like 80 USD.
Oh, okay.
Um, I don't believe
It's
people should be
on
paying that
sale for
much.
sale for the holiday on Steam right now.
Yeah, I'm potentially gonna get on console because I just don't
Yeah,
play
it could
stuff.
be.
I
I'm
don't
not sure
play
about the
stuff on
PlayStation
Steam.
Store. Yeah. Oh, you don't? You don't play any PC stuff?
Oh, I do play PC stuff, but it's mostly just, just average emulator for House of the Dead. It's just like I basically just use my PC to occasionally stream and do some other stuff. I've been into like Pokemon and other stuff, so I mean, I've just been getting back into consoles. It's
Good
one of those
stuff. Yeah, I
things
heard
in
you were
which,
doing
yeah,
some Pokemon stuff the other day.
yeah, on and off, I've been doing them. I got a second Nintendo Switch for like 40
Great.
bucks.
The new one, the upgraded one?
Oh, I have an OLED. And
Okay.
there was like, if you know, Goodwill shops, like 40 bucks
Mhm.
AU, I got a
Wow.
Switch. Um, so I
That's
was
amazing.
incredibly fortunate. So now I have two Switches. I don't know what to do with one. I've just been doing some Pokemon.
Great. Fun
That's
stuff.
all
You
I've
can't
been
go
doing.
wrong there.
Yeah, but you actually do appear on the top cast for Lords of the Fallen. At the very end,
Mhm.
given, but I mean, you are there, which is awesome.
At the top of the list?
Okay, that's slightly depressing. So if you go to the okay, if you go to the IMDb page and go down the bottom to top cast of Lords of the Fallen,
Mhm.
you are currently only behind Jess Nielsen, who did female NPCs.
Oh, you're looking at top cast.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting how they sort this, you know what I mean? I mean,
it's
Kellen Goff is
beyond.
huge. Kellen Goff is
Yeah,
is glam rock
100%.
ready, you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah, yeah, it's just kind of it could also be,
Oh, if someone
who
looks you
knows
up, it's
what it
like
is.
it's probably something random. But yeah, you was that your first like main AAA game. I mean, I don't know if Paladins would be considered because that was pretty big back in the day. Um,
Yeah, I think I
but I
joined
mean,
Paladins like a few years down the line, right? You
yeah,
know, Paladins
definitely because
about for a minute.
everyone used to play in like 2016 and 2017, and
Yeah.
then you were 2018 as a skin. It's like it's one of
Yeah,
those things of just like it's slightly
is this a
after its
roast or is
boom.
this an interview?
Yeah, but it's one of those things in which you have like really good roles, and then I always just see like always just see like paladins, and it's like I used to use I think that skin when I played in 2018 for like a
Hmm.
short period of time because I'm someone who always likes to buy the fancy cosmetics.
Well, the
So I'm just
Corvus
like,
Masquerade came out this year. The Masquerade event was this year,
was
but
it? Yeah,
IMDb marks it at the launch of the game. So the game came out 2018, and then Corvus Masquerade came out this
I must
year.
have played it at the
Um,
start of this year. I
yeah,
must have
could
played it for
be.
like a hot minute. I remember using that
Yeah,
at
it
least
was
at
a
some
fun event.
stage.
It was cool to be a
Yeah.
part of.
100%. So, I mean, looking at other roles, is there any? Okay, of course you can't break any NDAs, but is there any roles that you're really excited for coming up that you can speak about? I mean, out of the ones
Roles that are
that
not
aren't
necessarily.
under an
I can
NDA.
say roles that are. There's a couple roles that are in the can, so they're like recorded. They're in
Yep.
post production on the project
Yep.
that might come out next year or likely coming out
Mm.
next year. That I'm really excited for. A few bombshells up the sleeve. So Lords of the Fallen, whilst it was like a really big project that I was really honored to
Yep.
be a part of, I definitely have a few more rabbits, in my hat.
Yep.
And so folks are a fan of the stuff that I, have done thus far. They definitely 2024 is going to be a good year
Mm.
for that. I can say, I guess that's the extent I can say about existing work.
Yes. Yep.
I'm recording something exciting next week as well,
It
so
must be House of
um
Dead related, Must be.
N no, no, no. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Remake 2. I mean, they were both greenlit.
Yep. Yep. Oh,
Megapixel's
we
doing
always
great
we
with
always just
the
joke
first.
about it,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take
Mhm.
a stab or anything. It's always just like it's just
Yeah,
like a big
it's
project
the
coming up. Well, we know what that must mean. It's like every single time Forever Entertainment like puts a zombie emoji in the chat. Everyone's just like, It's coming out right now, isn't it? It's gonna be announced the next hour." It's like it's like guys, they were just doing a reaction image to someone's fan art. It's like
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's a funny old world. And the thing is too, um there's they're negotiating
hmm
the SAG negotiating committee's working with video game companies right
yeah,
now. There's a potential for a video game strike to my understanding unless some news came out that
yeah.
I didn't
I
see.
heard about that. That was a chance.
So there's a few variables as far as like what the
Yep.
pipeline is going to look like for 2024.
Mm.
So as far as like upcoming work and stuff, like who knows when that's coming up, but stuff that's already
Mm.
been in the can for a while, I'm like, okay, cool, that like has potentials to have maybe a fun drop at one of the many events, right? We have
Yeah.
like the Nintendo Directs, we have the Summer of Games, we have the Game Awards,
Randomly at the end without being told. Just
Yeah, yeah. It's you can
yeah.
never. It keeps you on your toes. You
It's
can
one of
never
those
know where
things in
it's gonna
which
come out
it's
next.
one of those things in which it's always that with any of those Nintendo related events or anything overall, you always get like the main stuff, and then sometimes like the one game that you've been looking for gets hit in there. So like sometimes it's like one of those breaching games. I
Hmm.
feel like the second remake will definitely be like a bridging game, in which like you know it's like Tears of the Kingdom or like some big game, and then it's like up and coming highlights. It's like House of the Dead 2 gets shown for like 10 seconds. It's like on to the next Mario game. It's like I
Yeah,
feel like it will be just shoved somewhere.
yeah. It could be. It could
Yeah,
be. I will say. Yeah, like
I think
I
it's
would
big
like it to
enough
get
that it
more
can
prominent
be,
placement.
but I don't think it's gonna be like you know oh, here's the next AAA game from, this company.
Yeah.
It's like It's already released in the past.
Yeah, you'll see.
We'll see eventually. Yeah, but I mean, you've been doing some stuff with, I think it's Cricket Sound. What's it
Yeah,
called?
Cricket Sound's my studio. Yeah, Cricket
Yes.
Sound Studio.
So if
Yeah,
you want
so
to
I
explain that to
teach.
people.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I coach voiceover. I just started a new class with in partnership with Closing Credits called
Mm,
Game Mode, where I teach intro to video game voice acting. And that's been going well. I think we have two cohorts right now,
mm,
two, full courses that are running right now, and I think we're looking to add two more.
mm,
And if you look up just Closing Credits Game Mode, just spelled exactly as those words are spelled, how they sound. On Google, you'll be able to see if you're interested in joining the wait list. It's a great course for like folks that are curious about dipping their toe, and priced accordingly too, for folks looking to dip their toe into video game acting, and the ins and outs of stuff at the end of every class. It's a 5 class series, and at the end of every class, we do a open-ended Q&A. So if you have any questions for me about my stuff, or different tips and tricks as to like how to find auditions and how to get started, I'm an open book in that regard. I want to
yeah.
really help folks out.
I mean,
So
I'd
that's been a
expect
really
you of
great
all
avenue for
people
me.
to be a great person with that. Because you're so
Appreciate that.
responsive and nice to like anything that comes your way. It's one of those things in which I feel, in comparison to some other people, which I've heard like some voice actors that have just been like rude to fans and kind of other stuff, because they look at it more as like monetary. I think
Yeah,
you more look at a role of course you need the money, of course, because we're humans, but you always look at everything with a bit of respect. And whenever you see something, you're like, if a community wants to contact you, I would presume that you would probably, say, hey guys, well, I'm in this. If you kind of get where I'm going with that,
yeah.
it's one of those
Like I
things in
try
which
to be accessible.
I don't think you would just ignore people for the, just because, it's another paycheck.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think like, and I have empathy for folks that are like, just like maybe if they're in Genshin or something
Mm.
and they're just absolutely fobbed in fans.
Yeah.
I think it's perhaps like that can sometimes be experienced as like them ignore. Maybe they're not,
Yeah.
but I like to, because I have the bandwidth, when I
Yeah.
have the bandwidth, I like to, you know, uh, get to meet people and hear about how this thing affected them, whatever the fandom may be. Because I mean, I came from like the theater world, so like
Yeah.
musical
A
theater,
lot of people come from
stage
that.
acting. Yeah, it's a really great like foundation. It's a very similar acting style, but I always tell people like you don't really get to take a bow as a voice
Mm.
actor, except at a con or when talking to fans and getting, context as to how they were affected by your
Yeah.
work. It used to be when you're in the theater, you get it, you learn right after you finish, like, all right, this is what people thought about it. Maybe they meet you at the stage door and they give you more in-depth thoughts, it's not just applause. Um,
They just
so
stare
I
at you,
really,
don't clap, just stare. They're just
yeah,
like,
exactly.
hmm.
I I really welcome that fan feedback, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to keep myself accessible because of it.
Yeah, because I know I mean, it's kind of being weird because I just kept chatting with you, and I think we've just kept like chatting about random crap over time.
Yeah,
But I mean,
we've stayed in touch.
for the average person, for the average individual, I mean, yeah, I would see you definitely if you got invited to a con or something. Definitely going, of course, with availability and that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. I feel like you're the type of person to say, "Oh yeah, hell yeah, I'll come."
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's definitely well, I think it's the new generation of voice actors that are coming through are just kind of being really excited about their roles. I've noticed a lot of the younger people are just incredible. Well, young as in like professional enough in which they can land roles.
Hmm.
Um, and I just feel like a lot more because I see, of course, because I follow you. I
Hmm.
eventually see you liking other people's posts. And I mean,
Yeah.
if I keep following them and keep following the trail, I'm just seeing a whole bunch of like voice actors, which are younger, getting in and just bonding with their communities. It's one of those
Yeah.
things in which you've done one voice and you get you get abducted into the community. You get taken away. But I feel like that's for anything. It's like when you have one major role or when you're in like something that's so cult classic, a
Right.
community will just go, "Oh yeah, he's ours now."
Yeah, I like
It's one of
that. I
those
really
things.
love
Yeah.
seeing that. And I love participating in it, but I also love, yeah, seeing people like whether they're like joining something like I mean there was this newest batch of Super Mario Wonder
Mm,
and there was a bunch of people in the Twitter voice actor community, like professional,
yeah.
union folks that were on that game and they're like, I'm in a Mario game. It was like so surreal and that was so
Yeah,
cool
that
to
was
see them take that
yeah.
journey.
From I think the fans' perspective, and I mean I don't share this opinion. A lot of people are just. I think the issue is that like for example, like you played Thomas Rogan. If you didn't play him, let's just say they released a third remake of the third game, right?
Mhm.
And you didn't play like an older version of him. I think there's a lot of people like the change of Mario actors and change of anything. I think there's also a little bit of people's worry in the fact that when a voice actor changes over time, there's a little bit of there's both people saying that's awesome, right? You've given an opportunity to
Right.
someone newer, right? But you've
Mhm.
also there's also a lot of damaging because in the past there's been horrible changes with people,
Yeah.
and I think a lot
There's
of
a little
people are
bit of a
scared. So I mean, I'll use Twitter as the perfect example because it's such a political platform nowadays that
yeah.
it's so like you have two sides of the coin. And whenever I was on that, like when the Mario voice actor changed, right? Everyone
Mhm.
on my feed was just going at him. I was just like, why?
Right.
I mean, it's like give him a chance.
It
I mean, if he's bad, go ahead. I mean, it's probably not his fault because he's probably been given like the wrong role, or they wanted a
yeah.
directional change in which fans didn't like. But I mean, the guy's just doing his job. Like, I mean, at the end
Yeah.
of the day, and a lot of people, although a lot of people from House of the Dead like Thomas Rogan Magician, right? So, like your version of those characters. So many people I saw online from doing like research and crap were like, "This guy is so bad. I'm glad they kept up the legacy of bad voice acting." It's like small jabs at you guys. I'm just like,
Yeah.
"You guys aren't bad. The originals were.
No, we
Wait,
were
what are you
doing an
coming from?"
impression. Yeah, no, it was also an interesting sort of that was my biggest game up to that
Mm,
point. I'd been doing commercials and audiobooks and stuff like that for a while. It was a very interesting game to come on the scene with because yeah, you are intentionally doing it very stylized and in this case the style
yeah,
is like
definitely.
very stilted and awkward.
Mm,
And yeah, some of the reads just they come off as crazy. That's just how they're done though. Like
yeah.
if you see the side by sides on YouTube, like it's pretty accurate, you know what I mean,
Yep.
to what originally played, like this is horrible, like
Mm,
coming across a dead body. That's like how it originally was. And there's I think there was so much built on the back of that element,
yep.
that campiness, that if you all of a sudden switched out the voices with like crazy, super
Mm,
realistic Final Fantasy type reads and stuff, Last of Us type reads, then the whole game doesn't make sense anymore.
yeah.
And
100%.
yeah, and I think it's one of those things that people like if they don't have the vision for that or they're not anticipating that, they they unless they see it, they're not
Mm,
going to believe it.
yep.
And if they saw it and they'd be dismayed, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
oh God, I missed the other thing. And I always took that with a grain of salt. I never took it as like, oh, these people are saying they're bad. They're like, we love the campy voice
Mm,
acting, is what I basically took that as with all the stuff because we all had plenty of material out. None of us were new, none of us were
mm,
rookies in the game. Um, so I figured I took it with a grain of salt. I thought it was I was glad that people noted that. I think there was also a lot of while we're on the topic, there was like a lot of reviews that had like
yeah.
reload, 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 reload in the title
Is that
because
just the
that's
person
also
being bad, or is that just
yeah,
is
yeah,
that
yeah, exactly.
is that a
They're just not
skill issue?
reloading enough. I told you to reload. No, but, yeah, no, it's funny that that is, yeah, like, that's another part of the
Yeah.
game that some is not everyone's cup of tea. Not everyone likes to hear that sound bite over and over again, but
Yeah.
it is so central to the experience of playing the game or
Mm,
walking through a arcade and watching a kid, maybe take their
mm,
first run through the house, you know?
yeah.
Yeah, it was a very interesting game to debut on because it's like, "Hello, everybody, this is me," and they're like, "Wow, this guy's really weird and bad." That wasn't the reaction that I got from folks, but it
Mm,
was like, it's definitely not the most flattering, way to
yeah.
present your, it takes context to understand the performance.
Mm. Yeah, it's one of those things in which I think it's just it's such a unique experience, retelling a story in your own voice
Mhm.
in a way. That kind
Yeah,
of, yeah, that makes sense. So
truly.
I'll kind of push on to the last three questions,
Yeah.
very quickly before we move on to the next segment, so I don't waste your time. I don't want to push anything out. So three really quick questions. One, when you were doing this is mostly just community related stuff. When you're doing
Mhm.
the remake, did you feel like you were doing an impression of the previous voices or your own new spin on those characters?
Yeah, I think that it's a good question. It was in a lot of ways. So we set the voice
Yeah.
without me knowing that it was House of the Dead.
Hmm.
So it's like kind of,
Do you know
it
the
was kind
code
of a little
name
bit.
that they used? Because I know it
It
was
was
original sin for House of Dead 2, and
it
it
was
was
something. I don't want to give away all their secrets, but it was something along the lines of like a famous movie about zombies. Like I can't remember if it was like 28 Days Later the game or something. It was something along those lines. And we were like, oh, that's interesting. And these are the breakdowns for the characters. I think.
But do you think when you saw the script you were like, "Oh yeah, I know what this is." Like
Well, everyone was called something different, so it was no, I didn't because also who knows the script of the House of the Dead that's not
yeah.
already a very experienced fan, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
But
So for
it's
me,
like I
yeah,
at least what's her name? When she was like Rogan, it's like
Natalie Roars,
yeah.
who plays Sophie.
Don't you think she would know after saying Rogan? Like yeah, I
Well,
mean
she
she
well,
probably
she was the
wouldn't.
casting director, so
Yeah.
she knew what the game was.
Oh
So
yeah, okay, that
she
makes
was
yeah.
casting
I
us.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so she knew. But yeah, myself and Charlie who plays G,
Yep.
like we were kind of going in blind and we set the voices based on the brief
Hmm.
and then they're like, "All right, now take those voices that you set
Hmm.
and um we're going to contextualize it in House of the Dead." So the voice was set without, kind of blind
Yep.
and then I took in, Nalan's performance and tried to
Hmm.
get to the essence of it
Hmm.
without doing an impression. The music of how I performed a lot of this stuff is very much and by music I mean like the pitches of the
Yep.
lines like are very much like Sophie, stuff like that. That's very much inspired by
Yep.
his great performance. And but yeah, that was the long and short of it. That we didn't know that it was House of the Dead, and so we were setting these voices kind of blind. Yeah,
Hmm.
based on like, all right, this guy's an all-American guy. When I was auditioning for Rogan, I imagine based off that description, it was like, oh, he's like a the jock that's
Yep.
going into the house to like save his girlfriend. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that led to an interesting sort of discovery in that way.
And then two quick questions. One is, oh, I'll save the pivotal one for last that most people get really struck up on. But do you find it hard to hear your own voice in certain media? Like if you go and play House of the Dead, do you find it hard to hear your own voice?
Not so much
Or have
because
you
I
kind of
try
gotten
and
used
keep
to it?
everything. Yeah, I'm just used to it, and I'm looking at it like
Hmm.
very dryly.
Yep.
I think that something that's funny is it's sometimes hard for me to hear myself as the character. Like I'm like I just hear my voice.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with my partner too. She's like, "Oh yeah, like I I it sounds like you know,
Hmm.
which I think is I also do think that that's pretty cool too,
Hmm.
though, to be able to leave one's, mark on the work.
Hmm.
I think that it would be if all of my roles were completely transformative and you couldn't even, get a gist of how I
Yep.
sounded underneath that, I would be kind of bummed out. So I'm glad that there is some stuff that I do that it's like, "Oh, yeah, that's Chris."
Yep. Okay. One final question
Yeah.
is, what do you think makes a character? The voice behind it or the writing?
Good question. I honestly think, like, the writing,
Hmm.
because there's plenty of great voices we've heard that, they don't deliver the goods on the writing.
Yep.
There's uh there's plenty of interesting characters that have a boring character arc or don't get resolved in all media.
Yep.
Um, and uh, I think the voice and the performance is of course pivotal. I don't know that I've ever seen a character that I'm like, this character is really well written but bad performed. I think
Hmm.
that's heartbreaking, but I don't recall the last time I saw that.
Hmm.
Um, I have seen though, performances that are wonderful and just like the story kind of buckles under its own weight a little
Yep.
bit across all mediums. So yeah, I think it's kind of like when we talk about like in American football, like wide receivers,
Hmm.
it's like the wide receiver is as good as his quarterback. If he can't get the ball, no matter
Yep.
how fast he's running, he's not going to be able to make the catch and
Yep.
get the yardage.
Yeah. We've had a mixture of responses with that one, so
Yeah,
it's
it's a really
pretty good to
interesting
know.
binary.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting question.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on. This is
Oh yeah, my
you can,
pleasure is
if you
all.
want to do a quick rundown of where people can find you again.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm
I'll put
available on
everything on
Twitter.
screen. So
Oh, great. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I'm on Twitter, and that's on screen. Chris Okawa, ChrisOcowh. I just opened my Streamly shop. I mean,
Yep.
it's in the process of. We collaborated on some
Yes. Yes.
postcards, which
Yes.
I'm excited to get out to folks. And we tweeted about that yesterday. So that's at streamly.com/Chris Okawa, just my regular name. And yeah, just keep an eye out for what's coming up next. I have some fun. I cannot promise House of the Dead stuff, but I do have other stuff that is good.
He exists
Uh,
outside of the one fandom, guys.
but yeah, I would love for folks to stay in touch. I'm available, on social and stuff. Love interacting with folks, seeing folks fan art. And once Streamily goes into full swing, get a look forward to writing personal stuff to folks and signing stuff. So yeah, that's it.